Hello, everyone. Today we will explore the critical aspects of management and leadership in effective administration, particularly within emergency medical services. Hopefully, by the end of this lecture, you'll have a good understanding of the week one module and the learning objectives we're trying to reach. You'll understand that there's management and leadership play integral roles in management of EMS. We'll talk about the difference between leadership and management. We'll talk about the four key roles of management and the ways to communicate organizational change effectively using the parity between management and leadership. We're also going to talk about the importance of goals and objectives. To help us out, I brought my trusty dry erase board and my trusty magic marker, and hopefully we'll do some illustrations. I thought it would be easier to record a video of me with the dry erase board than on a PowerPoint presentation because PowerPoints stink. I'll tell you when I think you need to write stuff down or at least take a mental note to understand moving forward. So first of all, let's recognize the differences in the integral roles that management and leadership play. So, as a general rule, management um, really is going to talk about directing, organizing, planning, resource control, ensuring that the employees have what they need to do their job. A lot of the things that are just bulleted and objective as they kind of go down the points, right? Versus leadership, which is more the encouraging of people to achieve certain goals and objectives. And I think what it's important, where this plays a very important role, is I don't necessarily agree or think that they are mutually exclusive. I think that if you are in planning on becoming a leader, a manager, then it's important for you to understand that you need to do your job as a manager or as a supervisor, which is to ensure that the logistics and the needs of your employees are met from a practical standpoint. We can't run an ambulance company without fuel for the ambulances. We can't drive fire trucks without diesel pumps that are working in the town garage. These are all things that are really important. If a tool breaks, we need to have a good tracking mechanism to get it repaired. If the monitor is out of service, we need to ensure that we have a backup monitor and that all the employees know what the process and the plan is to do that. So that's a management function. The leadership function, the motivation, is that idea that you're going to set the standard, that you are going to, be the motivator for your team. I think it was Abraham Lincoln that once said, leadership is motivating people to be better than they are. So that's your job. If you're coming in as a manager and you're not functioning in your role, managing the organization, then it's going to be very difficult for you to lead your team as they're coming in and they have no monitor batteries or they're out of saline or they have no diesel fuel or all these numerous things that are going to happen. Where I think the leadership role and the integral management role play, the key contrast is sometimes as a manager, especially as you move into a senior leadership position, the strategies of the organization aren't necessarily something that you can effectively or even is appropriate to communicate with your team at all the time. So that's where you come up with that rub or that lack of communication, that us versus them. And so one of the things that I would like people to focus on if you're a manager is remember remember the triangle here, right? And so when we say, well, what is the triangle? Well, leadership is really just going to be focusing on the humanistic component of your employees, right? So we start off here on the bottom of this triangle or this pyramid, and what I'm going to write is I'm going to write physiology, right? So the physiologic needs, which is backwards, of course, because I didn't mirror my screen, but the physiological needs of the employee, right? Do they have lunch breaks? Can you get them fed? Are they hot? If there's no air conditioning in the ambulance or in the fire truck in August, then you're going to have a problem unless you live in Antarctica, right? So we need to make sure that we're meeting those needs. The second thing that people are going to be concerned about is safety and security, right? So We just go up on this other backwards letter, the safety and security of our pyramid. And understand that people want to feel secure. They want to feel comfortable. They want to feel like when they go to work, they can perform their duties, and they don't have to worry about being fired or thrown out on the street every 5 seconds. You drive 50,000 miles in a fleet of ambulances, you're going to crash into stuff. And so if they feel like not being negligent, but making a simple mistake is going to get them fired. They're not going to perform to their capacity, because the safety and security is, if I lose my job here and I'm not safe, then I am going to lose my physiological needs. I can't feed myself. I can't feed my family, right? And so those are issues. The next thing that we're going to talk about, that we would want to bring up with them is, we want to make sure that everybody understands that there's a sense of belonging. And as a manager or as a leader, especially, and again, that you have to do both. But I think as a leader, it's important to know that you can very, very easily just go up and chat with the crews, know their names, understand their family, you know, connection. And obviously, the larger the organization that you're managing, the harder that's going to be. But make sure that they feel like it's part of the team. If you're negotiating a strategy or a plan for maybe a new customer base or expansion of service, and you have the ability to talk about it, then talk about it. One lesson that I would tell you to write down or make a mental note of is, get rid of this moniker that knowledge is power. All right. And I have all the power, right? Share your knowledge. Start to build a succession plan. I don't care if you're a supervisor for one day. Identify the people in your outfit that are go-getters and rock stars, and empower them with the knowledge that they need to understand what the mission is of the organization. That's going to encourage them to take that next step on this pyramid and triangle, and feel like they're part of the organization. The next thing that people are going to look for, and this will help you, is they want some esteem. They want self-esteem. So we move up onto this additional level, right? Listen, if I know that I'm going to come in and I'm going to work and I'm going to make enough money to feed my family, and then I know that my boss is going to keep me safe and secure in that, and fight for me and make sure that I have all the things that I need, that encourage me to belong as part of this team, focused on the strategies and goals and objectives of the organization, and then reward me and encourage me when I do good, my self-esteem is going to go up. And that ultimately is going to lead us to our last section of the pyramid, which is the self-actualization, which is the realization that your employee has of who they are and where they belong, and whether they're confident and happy with this process. This is called Maslow's hierarchy of needs. Maybe you've heard of it before, but it's actually a really good understanding of the humanistic aspects of management. And I think that, when we look at the functional roles of management, planning, organizing, leading, and then controlling, I think if we focus on the employee and the humanistic aspect of the employee, I think that that's going to get you off on the right foot, and really help you to be successful in your role. When we talk about those 4 key roles, remember, planning, you're going to read this in your book, right? But making sure we have our own objectives and the best course of action to achieve it. This could be as simple as a schedule. This could be as simple as routine ordering, or a system of QR codes to let the crews at your satellite districts let you know when something's going wrong. You're planning in advance for what the needs are going to be, so you're not being surprised. What are we going to do if we can handle 8 inches of snow in New England, but we can't handle 18 very well? What are we going to do? What's our plan going to be? I'll just say, let's get a binder, and we'll have tags, and it'll say, hey, we're going to do this. If this doesn't happen right, we're going to go to, page 15, and everybody knows that that's the policy procedure. Little things like that. We certainly don't want to, from an old firefighter in the room here, I certainly don't want to throw a book at the fire and expect it to go out. Sometimes you're going to have to think on the fly. But I think that as a manager, if you have a baseline plan for all the things that are likely to happen and make sure that the employees have what they need to do their job, you're going to be way ahead of the curve in fulfilling that role. The other thing is the organization and the structure, right? So organizing is a big part of management, one of the four key roles. Where are the resources going to be deployed? Why are they going to be deployed that way? How many people do we need? What is our staffing schedule? If you are just making stuff up on a whim, that's gonna upset people. It could be a process scheduled day. It could be as simple as a new employee orientation manual. This is how we're gonna. I'm the new manager, and here's our employee orientation manual. And all you old guys are complaining about all you young guys. And so what we're going to do is we're going to throw this at you, and this is how we're going to train them. And now if all the new guys stink, it's your fault because I told you how to train them, right? Those are the simple things that you could do. Explaining resource allocation and making sure that that resource allocation doesn't upset anybody. I know some of the CADs, the computer aided dispatch systems with system status management, right? They move the cars around every time a call comes in. Well, if your service is doing 200 calls a day, that's impossible. Nobody's ever going to put the ambulance in park, and they're going to get frustrated and they're going to get sick of being bumped around. So the organization is bad. So we need to organize better where our resource deployment is going to be. We already talked about the leading. That's a key role. If you're a manager who doesn't do your job, it's going to be impossible for you to lead people. So I'm not going to dwell on that. And then we need to make sure that we can control. Controlling is the last key component. And it's not this mind control, I'm an autocratic, evil authoritarian, but it's letting people know what the standards are, letting them know what the expectations are, and then coaching, counseling, and encouraging them to meet those standards. I always, one of the phrases that I like to use is, the first thing is you need to do is you need to communicate what your objectives are, what you're trying to accomplish. And then you need to educate the employee on how to meet those objectives. If you're still having trouble meeting those objectives, and then you start to worry about and write this down mentally, are they unwilling or are they unable to meet those objectives? If they're unwilling, then we need to have a different conversation with the employee. If they're unable, then we need to dive deeper into the education, right? We do want to steer clear of terminate if we can, but you know what? I always really wanted to be a hockey player. I just have one problem. I can't ice skate. So if they're really unable and we're trying to give them all the resources they need to be successful and it's not happening, then maybe we need to find another role for them in our organization, right? When we talk about communicating where we want to go for the organization, there's another effective way. Number one, be transparent. If I can't talk to you about it, I can't talk to you about it. And you just don't say like, oh, I can't say anything about that because I'm knowledge is power and I got the power. But be like, listen, we're always looking for an opportunity to expand our business plan. I can't confirm or deny any rumors you have. Just understand that sometimes when legal gets involved, we're not allowed to talk about stuff. But rest assured, as soon as I can tell you something or as soon as I have information regarding what you're asking, I'll let you know. It's transparent, right? They're going to hear stuff on the street. Don't let them hear facts on the street. Let them hear rumors on the street, right? We just went through that in my organization a long time for the last 18 months. I get questions all the time. And, you're not lying when you say, I can't talk about that. We're always exploring new business opportunities. Engage all the stakeholders, right? These are members of your team. Especially, I don't care if you're EMS commercial, if you're EMS fire, if you're, EMS hospital, third service. Without your EMTs and paramedics, you're not completing your mission. So engage them. They're your stakeholders. Engage the mayor. Engage the CEO of the hospital. Engage the presidents of the nursing homes and skilled nursing facilities you may deal with. These are your stakeholders. Engage them. Be involved as you communicate what your organizational changes may be and what those objectives can be. Provide support, especially encouragement. When there's an organizational change, your employees are going to be very nervous. Your stakeholders are going to be nervous. We just made announcements on a big acquisition, and the company that was being acquired was calling a lot of their customers, and their customers were nervous that they were suddenly not going to be serviced because they had such a great standing and relationship. So that's very, very important as well. And then make sure you keep the lines of communications open. Hey, this is where we're at. I don't have all the facts yet. Transparent. Um, this is what we anticipate to come down the pike. There'll be lots of changes. If you hear anything, see anything, think anything is off, you want to contact me. Here's my phone number. Here's my email address. Feel free to reach out. So you're transparent. You're engaging all your stakeholders, employees, customers alike. You're providing support, encouragement as they need it, and you're maintaining that open line of communication, right? And then lastly, we talk about the importance of goals and objectives, and make sure that they're not only measurable, which you'll read about in your textbook, right? And achievable as far as goals. But what I always say is let's highlight little objectives that we can reach and make them valuable and important to the employee. I can't tell you, I work for a huge organization, and I just can't tell you how frustrating it is sometimes when they come out with these goals and objectives that mean absolutely nothing to me. So I need to know why that is important for me, right? Why is that important for my department, my team, my several departments, and get that going. But lots of good information. Feel free to reach out if you have any questions. This concludes the lecture for Module 1 or Week 1. Thank you.